disciples, and it takes more than 12 to reach the world. When we become Christians, we become responsible to tell others the wonderful news that we ourselves have received. It says in 2 Corinthians 5:20 that we are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. And as we consider the Great Commission this morning, let me give you 3 things. If Christians do not tell people about Christ, no one else will. If we're not the ones out there doing it, nobody else really cares. It's every man's responsibility. God did not commission the angels to spread the gospel. He commissioned us. No one else will be telling people about Jesus. It's up to us because we have the truth. And if we don't tell them, you can be sure that the cults will. The Mormons, the Jehovah's Witnesses. The cults are very busy doing the devil's dirty work, turning people aside from the truth. You know, not too long ago, we kind of avoid the JWs that come to our house because, you know, I grew up that as a Jehovah's Witness, so we know what they look like. But I was out and about, and somebody had tried to hand me a tract and tell me what heaven was going to be like and that there was no hell. The devil deceived them. And I stood and tried to have a conversation with them, but they weren't taking it. So if they're out doing those things and handing tracts out to people and knocking on doors, and we in our own walk, in our own life, don't tell people about Jesus, they're going to hear something. And we prefer that they hear about the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ and not what somebody else believes or thinks. The Bible tells us in John 14:6 that I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Not only is it every man's responsibility, but it's every man's urgency. If we're going to be effective in reaching people for Christ, we're going to have to understand that it's time to get involved. There should be urgency for us to talk to our friends and our family, our neighbors and our co-workers. When we meet someone or speak to a person, it ought to provoke the question, I wonder if he knows Jesus. And a lot of people are always thinking the other question. I hear a lot of people say that. I wonder if they're saved. That's a churchy term to me. Although it is, you know, you're saved and you're redeemed. To me, it's more important to have a relationship with Christ. So when we meet people on the streets or we meet people out and about, our friends, our neighbors, our co-workers, you know, you want to look at their life and think, wow, I wonder if they have a relationship with Christ like I do. And if yours isn't where you want it to be, then you could say, I wonder if they have a relationship with Christ like I want to be someday. Because we're all striving. We're all moving forward in our relationship with Christ. We're not all where we want to be. We're not all where we need to be. But thank goodness we're not where we used to be, right? So when we're out and about, our question should not be more so, I wonder if they're saved, as much as it is, I wonder if they have a relationship with Jesus. And what that does is it opens the door more comfortably for you to be able to talk to them about it. Because see, there's something scary about saying, I wonder if they're saved, because that means if they're not, that you might have to get them saved. And who's scared about doing that? If we look at statistics, 95% of the church has not even prayed with somebody to get them saved. That's a lot of people. So don't put that pressure on yourself. Don't wonder if they're saved. Wonder if they have a relationship with Christ. Because that's really more important. Because if you plant the seeds, God's going to take that and He's going to run with it. And He's going to save them. So when you're out and about and you're thinking about it and you meet somebody, the best way to talk about Jesus is just to talk about what He's done for you. to come to a place with them to where you can say, you know what, let me tell you where I used to be. Let me tell you about the things I used to do. Let me tell you about how I used to think. I used to act. But I don't do those things anymore, see, because I have a relationship with Christ, and He lives in me, and He's changed me from the inside out. Now, I'm not perfect. By no means am I perfect, but boy, I'm striving to be I want to be just like Christ. I want to be in His image. And then when people listen to you say that, they're like, wow. So it's not a scary thing about, are you saved? That just seems weird to me. And I'm not knocking people that do that, but just for me personally. I've seen people in the grocery store that have done that very thing and kind of scared some people a little bit. So when you're out and about, don't think you have to save people, because that's a scary thought. Just tell people about your relationship with Christ. And then when they see that, they're going to want it, because Christ and God's going to take care of the rest. You know, it only takes one person to tell one person. The famous preacher R.G. Lee wrote this: Andrew brought Simon Peter. Just one. But that one was many. For under God, Simon brought 3,000 in one day. Remember that? In one day, Jesus had met Peter, and Peter went out and brought 3,000 people to hear Jesus speak, and all of them were saved. Joel Stratton, a waiter in a restaurant, brought John Go to Christ. Just one. And Go brought many to Christ. Ezra Kimball, a Sunday school teacher, brought Moody to Christ. Just one. But that one was many. For Moody rocked 2 continents for God. But why say more? Just as one digit is valuable in the multiplication table and one letter in the alphabet, far more valuable is just one soul in God's sight. It requires determination. It takes the determination to decide, I'll be the one to do it. In Isaiah 6:8 it says, Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? And I said, Here I am. Send me. Some will say, but I'm not a gifted speaker. I'm intimidated by others. I don't fit the part. Let's listen to what Paul said of himself in 1 Corinthians 2:1-4. It says, When I came to you, brothers, I did not come with eloquence or superior wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. I came to you in weakness and fear and with much trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power. Paul knew that by himself he could do nothing. He couldn't influence anyone.